WoW Midnight 12.1 PTR, all of the changes coming to the dungeon pool that we're going to be experiencing in Season 1. Now, or Season 2, I should say. We know that the dungeon pool's been controversial, right? King's Rest, Temple of Sothralis, a lot of dungeons that people weren't fond of when they were actually out in the game previously. Well, Blizzard has dropped so many changes to these dungeons. I mean, they might as well be different dungeons and completely. So we're going to get into all the changes, kind of summarizing all the changes that have happened here, how these dungeons are going to run going forward, and what to expect maybe in Season 2 of Midnight. Here we go. This one from Dalaran Gaming.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. Patch 12.1 is on the horizon with the Season 2 content update fast approaching for Midnight expansion as its very first seasonal update. And the patch itself is going to be bringing a ton of new changes, both for classes, as well as to many of the in-game systems and content we get to interact with every single day. Mythic Plus in particular is getting a fairly decent overhaul. Not only are we getting a new set of dungeons, so brand new mechanics, a bunch of new bosses, lots of rewards from those dungeons specifically, but also a lot of really surgical changes to many of the instances, both new as well as old, in order to try and make the season as painless as possible and actually potentially maybe even enjoyable.
Yeah.
With this, we also do have a bunch of awesome quality of life changes, such as making deadly frontal abilities from bosses and ads much easier to see to improve the
Yes, the visual changes, and he's going to get into it, I'm sure. There are so many visual changes to abilities that are going to make them easier to see, identify. You're going to know what to do. It's great. This is what a lot of these dungeons needed. And even this morning we talked about, I'll see if he actually mentions some of the changes that occurred this morning. He might not, because this video, I think, was already live before those patch notes actually hit. But some really good visual ability changes coming to a lot of these dungeons.
game's clarity. And outside of the gearing, which has been designed to be smoother this season, we have plenty of seasonal rewards as well as dungeon rewards for you to obtain. For today's video, I wanted to basically go over everything that you can expect from Mythic Plus changes that are coming up with the Season 2 content of Midnight as part of our regular coverage of the PTR changes. With that being said, as always, if you guys want to see more regular updates for Midnight as an expansion, especially when it comes to the upcoming seasonal content from the patch 12.1, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So first of all, let's get some of the obvious things out of the way. With the brand new seasonal content on Mythic Plus, we got a ton of new dungeons. And like previous seasons for the last couple expansions, we are going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be getting access to 4 other Midnight dungeons that we haven't had for the season, as well as 3 returning dungeons and 1 brand new one.
Yeah, so when the player base saw King's Rest, Ruby Life Pools, and Temple of Sothralis, it felt like Blizzard was just picking dungeons that people have previously been frustrated. And they're not wrong. A lot of these dungeons had issues, but they're supposed to be better. By the way, Den of Nalorok, I will just say it right now. Blizzard basically eliminated all the storytelling in that dungeon, thankfully. If you played Den of Nalorok back in the day, you know there is a lot of RP in that dungeon. Oh my god, it's just like never-ending RP. And Blizzard basically cut all that out, thankfully.
As part of the 12.1 update. The 3 original dungeons of Midnight is going to be Den of Nalorok, Murder Row, Blighting Vale, and Voidscar Arena, and most of those dungeons are pretty decent from the testing that I've done, though some changes are being made in order to reduce as many pain points out of these dungeons, especially Voidscar Arena, because in that place in particular, you could either go left or go right, and depending which side you go to, enemies are different. One side is miles harder than the other for some reason, so they are making some changes over in the PTR to adjust these as best as possible. The other new dungeon is going to be Altar of Fangs, a new introduction as part of 12.1. Generally one of the more interesting dungeons with some of the newer interesting mechanics, especially with the second boss. They are also doing
the testing so far, by the way, in Altar of Fangs has been like really good. Players have been saying this dungeon's going to be awesome. So excited to run a new dungeon.
Some changes in terms of the dungeon layout.
Also, I wonder if we actually kill Zul'Jan. He is the end of dungeon boss here, and he does. You defeat him to finish out the dungeon, but is Zul'Jan really just going to be offed as a dungeon boss? I don't know. I doubt it. I feel like he's either not actually killed off or he comes back in some way, shape, or form, but it would be weird to me to see him offed as just a dungeon boss. I hope not.
Or at least some of the enemies in order to reduce as many pain points as possible, but it generally has been perceived well by the community. The 3 returning dungeons, however, have been a bit of a mixed bag, with King's Rest, Ruby Life Pools, and Temples of Thrallus making a return. On one hand, dungeons like King's Rest have been adjusted so that they don't have nearly as much roleplay within them. So some of the gate sections where you have to, wait for enemies to all die before you can proceed, those have been reduced and sped up quite a bit. But a lot of the boss redesigns have been a little bit too busy and too messy, especially with Dazar, which a lot of players did not enjoy. But then there's other dungeons like Samiccus of Thrallus, which was not players' favorite back in BFA, but they actually found a way to make this place better. A lot of the bosses have been redesigned or have been added with more mechanics.
Yeah, this dungeon's
but
basically
instead of
new.
making them messier, they actually made them more fun and more interesting in a lot of the cases. And some of the more ambiguous mechanics, like with the second boss with a poison spit that didn't really tell you when the attack was going to happen or where it was going to hit, causing players to have to predict and dodge ahead of time. Those mechanics have been redesigned to be a little bit more straightforward, a little bit easier to see, but also a lot easier to play around with. A lot of the trash packs for all of these returning dungeons of King's Rest, Ruby Life Pools, and Temples of Thrallus have also gone through a number of changes.
Yeah, common theme for all the trash packs, increased cast times, right? So it gives you a longer time to interrupt, less interruptible abilities. So you basically have, one caster instead of 3 casters and a pull, making that entire thing easier. They just basically nerfed all the pulls.
In order to adjust the enemies, specifically in terms of mechanics, but health pools as well. Apparently, for the set of dungeons in general, not just the new ones, but Season 2, a lot of the enemy health pools have been adjusted to be increased, to the point where it basically places a lot more emphasis on target prioritization and damage checks within these dungeons to try to reduce some of the necessary hurdles that tanks and healers have to play around with these pulls. It does drop more on the DPS to maintain their damage in order to take out these enemies fast enough. So damage priority is going to be a huge thing as part of the Season 2 content, which makes certain classes and specs in particular a standout in an easy way. Also, for the seasonal dungeons, a lot of the frontal and cone attacks have had their visibility greatly increased. A lot of these enemies are going to have some sort of a frontal ability, so that greatly increased visibility makes it much easier to see the mechanics, but also avoid the mechanics. It doesn't make the mechanics easier by chance, but positionals and being able to, stand on the edge of that frontal without getting hit or clipped by it is going to be a lot more important and a lot more possible. So it just makes the whole dungeon experience much better and significantly improved since the first season. As for the rewards, we also do have 2 new mounts that are being added as part of the KSM and Keystone Legend achievements. The KSM mount is going to be Breath of Blight, which is...
Yeah, this is actually one of the cooler ones. I haven't been that, excited about some of the KSM mounts lately, but these are nice. Got the poison skeletal bat, yes.
This
or
flying
dragon
snake, which looks fantastic. The skeletal form, the poison dripping out of its, I guess,
it's a cool
would be
one.
The chest. It looks fantastic. It's a really, really good looking mount. In fact, a lot of the mounts they added for this patch look incredibly good. All of them, or most of them, are going to be very snake themed. So we have the Breath of Blight, which is the KSM, as well as the Keystone Legend, which is the red version, which has a very, very similar animation with the chest, with the dripping part, but it's not red. It basically uses that same green animation as well. So those are going to be at least 2 new direct rewards for competing within Mythic Plus content within Season 2. Outside of this, the dungeons themselves of that season also come with mount rewards and other rewards as well, like the new dungeon Altar of Fangs. There is a whole decor. There's also a mount as well, which is a triple-headed snake.
Yeah, this is cool. It's actually not a triple-headed snake. If you really look at it, it's 3 snakes intertwined with each other and tied together. It's a pretty darn cool mount. It has really cool animations too. I hope I get this one.
The second boss in particular is what this snake is. It's like a coiling of multiple snakes together.
Yeah.
So this is definitely one of those, some of the better looking mounts of the season so far. It looks insane, especially with all the poison animations all around it as well. So there's definitely something that you will be able to work towards during second season, since you can spam this dungeon pretty much endlessly. With the dungeon Den of Nalaric, you do have a new decor of the Ambani Ritual Altar, which is also going to be spammable. Over in Murder Row, we have even more decor with the illicit Long Table. Over in Blinding Veil, we do have a Veilwood Fountain, but also a toy that transforms you into a Scepter. And it's one of those toys that doesn't break when you get into combat. Same with Voidscar Arena, we also got even more decor with Voidlight Brazier. Over in King's Rest, there should be a mount reward here. Yeah, the Mummified Raptor Skull, so if you've never gotten it in the past, this would be your other opportunity to get it. But also we have the new decor of the Royal Attendant's Coffin. Over in Ruby Life Pools, we do have the Voldraken Hanging Lab decor. And on Temples of Thrallus, we do have the unique Hatchery of Hissing Eggs, which is a unique looking fountain. Technically, this isn't a reward for Season 2, but it'll become
Man.
available within Season 2. Anybody that's gotten the title from Season 1 will also get access to a new mount called the Umbral Ashes, which is awarded for literally
Glorious.
the top 1% of players competing in the Mythic Plus.
Worthy of a top 1% mount. This thing's great, man. And we were just talking about, like, what's it going to take to actually get this thing? Probably, like, around plus 21s across the board. We'll put you in the top 1%. And yeah, this mount definitely worth getting. If you got a shot at it, go for it. Sam could never.
Season. So, like I said, technically Season 2 reward, but it's actually a reward from completing in Season 1. So if you are going to be going after this mount to add it to your collections, then you may want to start grinding super hard over in the Mythic Plus dungeons in Season 1. Now, when it comes to the gearing for Mythic Plus in Season 2, the loop is essentially the same as it is right now, this moment in Season 1, but it essentially transfers over into Season 2. Season 1 Mythic Plus was always really good in terms of gear, but after they added bonus roll tokens, players could finally, by grinding Mythic Plus dungeons, start farming a mythic gear from those dungeons, allowing them to finally make the character best in slot without having to step foot into raids. And essentially this same system, the final remnants of it in Season 1,
I just got PTSD. I remember this fight. You got to pull all the little whelplings into the circles. Yeah. And everyone's getting blasted around. That's a good one.
Just transitions into Season 2 with all the benefits included from the get-go. So the bonus rolls are going to be obtainable from the start. You will start to be able to get them either from your Great Vault if you get nothing good, but also after a few weeks, they'll just start giving you out these tokens pretty regularly. So this will be something that will be kickstarted pretty early on, instead of having for you to wait until, like, the 0.5 and the 0.7 patch before the content or that feature is enabled. So this is something you'll start utilizing from the jump if you want to. This means you'll still be able to use those reroll tokens within any of these dungeons to start farming mythic gear from any of the content. So if there's a trinket you're looking for, a specific weapon.
Yeah, the bonus roll system's still continuing on into Season 2. So if you didn't know that, now you know. I don't think our bonus rolls that we purchased in Season 1 are going to be usable in Season 2. We probably have to get all new ones, but you will be able to use them, as well as Ascended Void Cores. That's going to be a thing too, upgrading the gear up a couple item levels. So, and I think they're expanding it beyond just your 2 trinkets and your weapon for Ascendant Void Cores. It's going to continue further than that. So we'll see what other things are included. But yeah, those systems continue on. And one more thing on Ruby Life Pools, he didn't mention it yet, so I'm going to say it. We talked about it this morning. The Meteor, right? The big rolly ball from what's her name? Rezakak Blazehoof. That freaking annoying ass boulder that kills people all the time. Now there's going to be an indication when it's being casted of where it's going to go and where it's going to stop to explode. So yeah, more visual indications of what's going on with abilities. It'll be easier to avoid, at least this season.
Or any items that are best in slot, like a neck or a ring. You'll start to be able to obtain these items literally pretty much day 1 or during the early few weeks of this Season 2 launch. So you'll be able to start getting mythic items with this bonus reroll tokens, which is massive because it means you can kickstart your character gearing from the get-go. You don't need to really jump into mythic raids or any of the mythic bosses in order to start obtaining higher item level gear. You could, for the most part, stick to Mythic Plus content and get a lot of the gear you need and maximize your character's value. The dungeons themselves and the gear is also going to scale exactly the same way as they did in Season 1, so completing a plus 10 dungeon in the season will allow you to get a mythic version of that piece of gear from the loot table. The loot tables will function exactly the same. It'll give you a random assortment of items from there that your character can equip. And once the item has been looted with the bonus reroll token, it no longer is on that bonus reroll token. Basically, you knock out all the items one by one until you get all of the items from that content, and then you have yourself best in slot gear for pretty much the rest of the season. Another big thing for the season is also changes to the catalyst, because the catalyst previously would take whatever item you had and would transform the item levels.
Yeah, I think this is like being understated. What he's talking about right now. The fact that now, like, cantrip abilities, secondary abilities, stuff like that attached to gear will remain when you convert it to tier gear. Meaning that just having your tier set is not the best version of your tier set. The best version will actually be the catalyzed version with the pieces of gear that had abilities added to them before they were catalyzed. Or before they were transformed. So Pre-watched, yeah. Yeah, I should say pre-researched, because I knew this and I've been talking about it ever since Blizzard announced it, that this is a crazy thing because it's actually going to change what your real best in slot version of your tier set is.
Or that piece of gear's stats entirely. As a good example, I have, let's say, a helmet, the Primal Sentry's Maw from Season 1, and those predetermined secondaries are always crit haste. So if I were to take a helmet that's crit mastery and put it into the catalyst, those secondary stats would also change to be crit haste.
Right.
However, with a new change to the catalyst, if I were to do the same thing, it actually takes the secondary stats of the item you put in, so a crit mastery helmet, and it takes it, applies those secondary stats, while still giving it a tier set bonus. This means, going through Mythic Plus gearing, you can simply scour dungeons and get your best secondary stats from all the dungeons, even if they're helms, shoulders, chest, legs, anything else. If you convert them with the tier set, to a tier set item with the catalyst, it keeps those secondary stats. This gives you even better control on the secondary stats you want for your character, allowing you to fully optimize all of your stats to get the most amount of mastery, crit, haste, versatility, whatever is the best stat for your character, to have probably one of the most optimized characters for the rest of the season, which is going to be massive for those of you that are doing Mythic Plus dungeons, because you'll be able to get so many different pieces with those reroll tokens in order to create yourself the best slot set on your character. Another advantage of Mythic Plus Dungeons, it'll be a great source of Ascendant Venom Stones, which are essentially Ascendant Void Stones from Season 1 that would allow you to upgrade certain pieces of gear, like your weapons and trinkets, as long as they're fully upgraded on the Hero track or Mythic track, and it will allow you to take those items one extra level higher. Essentially, this system is continuing in Season 2, although they're changing how many of those stones you can convert into an upgrade token, but for Mythic Plus Dungeons, since you can spam them endlessly, it becomes one of the best sources to be able to get those upgrade tokens while you're farming your gear at the start of a brand new season. So as you do in Mythic Plus, you'll be able to get a lot of these tokens or stones more regularly and then combine them together into the upgrade token, so then you'll be able to have upgraded weapons, trinkets, and now upgraded necks a lot sooner than ever, allowing you to make some massive gains when it comes to your item level pretty early on.
It looks like he was actually showing the new version of this boulder ability, because you could see her casting it out just a second ago. Yeah, right here, the boulder goes out. Now there's this giant beam that shows you where it's going. So obviously you'll be able to avoid
stones more regularly and then combine them together into the
big circle right here indicating where it's going to stop and explode. Previously, if you did this dungeon back in Dragonflight, you basically played a guessing game where you didn't even know the freaking thing was being casted half the time, and then all of a sudden there's a boulder rolling across your screen, one-shotting everyone in the taint, and you got to deal with that shit, and then you're not even sure where it's going to stop and blow up. So yeah, that was a very annoying mechanic to deal with. That should be better now.
Upgraded necks a lot sooner than ever, allowing you to make some massive gains when it comes to your item level pretty early on, even if you just solely focus on Mythic Plus gear only. With that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching and hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy this update or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like, as I would very much appreciate it. Be sure to join our Discord community. Link to that is in the description of every single video we post over on the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in our next one.
Yeah, nice video overall. Good changes to the dungeons. For the most part, I mean, these dungeons are just going to be easier. They're going to be easier than they were previously. A lot of mechanics gotten rid of. He'd even mention all the RP being removed from Den of Nalorok. So lots of cool stuff there. Good changes from Blizzard. Hopefully Season 2 is as fun as Season 1. I think Season 1 was fun. Blizzard did a good job with the dungeon pool, the difficulty. I think it was an easy season, and that's what players want for the most part. Nobody wants to be stuck in a hard-ass season just grinding their life away. That's what the War Within was in Season 1, and that was a very unpopular season. So I think they got it right. We'll see how it all ends up playing out. But nice video from Dalaran Gaming.